Okay, discussion of request by department heads to ban street solicitation throughout the city. Someone going to speak on that behalf, of what this is about?
What item are we on?
We're on item number
Item
6.
6, right here. I'll scribble all over.
Okay.
Does everyone understand what this is about? Do I hear a motion? Or discussion?
It's actually
Well,
a discussion.
Discussion?
Mr.
Discussion.
Smith,
I can. I
Would you-
guess the chief of police was here.
He
would have
was.
been the one. There used to be a prohibition of street solicitation based on, I guess, before there was. Then it was modified to allow some sort of limited with certain procedures to be put in place by the people that were going to solicit near the right-of-way but not actually enter it. What has happened is that has, over the years, those procedures have not been adhered to by the people that wanted to solicit alongside the right-of-ways here in the city. And so at a department head meeting, it was discussed, and it was majority, I believe, that department heads that just go back to banning solicitation in the streets. And I think it was to be brought by the mayors to see what the council's thoughts were on that and to hear any feedback and input based on that discussion that was at the department head meeting.
Do we have an ordinance, currently have an ordinance that deals with this?
That is correct, and it allows for a limited solicitation by the right-of-way, but not an entry into it. But they're all supposed to wear vests and have markings of where they're going to be, things that are not being done by anybody that currently is doing solicitations, and they are entering the streets.
Does that ordinance have enforcement provisions?
I believe so, but it's one of those that it's hard to catch, and then it's hard
make
for
it any easier to catch.
it's because when the police do respond to these events, it's they're warned, but I don't believe they are cited, and it's hard for them to, I guess, catch them actually out in the street. But if there's a complete ban, it may be easier for the police to tell them that there's no solicitation in the right-of-ways whatsoever, even on the sidewalks that are considered the right-of-ways.
So we're gonna issue, what's the recommendation? Issue permits or what?
That's currently what they're doing, or supposed to be doing.
Are local school kids exempt?
No.
No.
I mean, anybody can do it as long as they get a permit and follow the procedures and stay out of the right-of-way for the limited purpose of just soliciting right by the sidewalk area. What's happening, though, is there's entry into the streets themselves, and that's causing concern.
Maybe we ought to see a copy of the existing ordinance and first. Does it require permits?
My recollection is it does.
Excuse me?
My recollection, it requires a permit, and
The
that
existing ordinance, I mean.
That's correct. And that they're supposed to list where they're supposed to be, tells them how they're supposed to wear some type of vest to show that they could be seen from the road that they're going to be soliciting by. There's supposed to be some markings that they put up, and they're not supposed to enter into the actual traveling part of the right-of-way. Like I said, that's causing problems, I guess, with it had been brought up by the chief of police that he wanted to revisit this, and so.
Mr. Smith, in
Yes.
this, there's even, I think, been some, our city departments that have utilized this in the past, but I think The problem is that in recent months, maybe earlier this year, 2 different occasions, there were groups at several intersections, at least on East Main, I think Elmira for sure, and Knoxville in East Main, and they were actually coming in, and when the lights turned red, this car stopped, they were coming into each lane all the way across to solicit you. And I believe the policy now says they're not supposed to get off the curb, but how are you gonna, the issue is how do you police that? And I think that's where that's where the concern or the issue arose.
He just told us what some of the requirements were, vests and markers down the road, so if they're not doing those things, they're in violation.
But, if there's a policy presently says that they aren't supposed to get off the curb, and they spent the majority of the day at those 2 places you're talking about, surely, numerous policemen saw them running off the curb because they weren't just running out in the street soliciting, they were holding up traffic. And another thing, I don't know if are they supposed to identify what they're collecting for?
I don't know if they're supposed to, or at least they're supposed to list it before they go out in their permit. I think they identify it during the permitting process.
That's another problem. You have no idea what they're soliciting for.
I'd like to see a copy of the ordinance and educate myself on what we're exactly doing here, and have the chief explain to us what the problem is and how we need to alleviate it in his opinion. Can we do that next meeting?
Sure.
Okay,
So we'll just table this and move right along to the next item.
okay.
Any more discussion on this subject?